Hello, Dr. Laura Alvarez. Thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Jesus Guarecuco. I'm one of the ambassadors of Match a Resident. And today we're going to start this interview. It's a series of interviews that we are starting to do this season, just celebrating you as one of the IMGs that successfully match. And for that, congratulations. And we just want to know how you did it, how you made it. And we want to share your experience and your journey with all our followers, not only in my social media, but also in Match a Resident media and your own personal social media as well. So thank you for being here, for sharing this time with us and Match a Resident. And let's talk a little bit just at the beginning. Tell me more about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Guarecuco, and thank you, Matcha Resident, for having me today. I'm very excited, first of all, because I'll be sharing my journey. It's been a tough journey too, for me and for my family and friends, because they also were part of this. And yeah, I'm excited to tell you more about myself. So my name is Laura Alvarez, and I was born in the Dominican Republic. I also graduated at UNIBE here in the Dominican Republic in 2018. So I have always been interested in community service. So that's what I've been doing since the beginning, even before medical school. And I've been doing a lot of volunteer work here at my country. And I think that's one of the things that helped me throughout this journey. I also got interested in a research program. It's called PPCR, Principles and Practice of Clinical Research at Harvard at the Public Health. I applied in 2022 and I learned a lot and gained a huge community of doctors and professionals in healthcare. And I'm currently a teacher assistant for a second year in a row. And I also got rotations in the United States, in Texas. And besides medicine, I love playing volleyball and cook some paellas and dance salsa. So that's it for now.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I was very excited when Macho Resident told me, "Hey, Jesus, can you please, help us and be in the host for some interviews?" And I thought, yes, of course. Should, can I pick the person who matched? And no, we're gonna assign you one. And then they told me, "Oh, this is your person. This is Laura." I'm very happy that I have another Latino, Hispanic person here that I have to interview because it's very nice to see how our community in general is growing here in the US, that we are able to take care of our own community. And that's a great thing. So for that, congrats again.
Likewise.
Yes. So for those who doesn't know, I'm from Venezuela, but we're very close. We are the same. We're Caribbeans.
Yeah.
So
Latino power.
Yeah, Latino power, exactly. So the other thing, you just mentioned, I want to start with something that you just mentioned because I think it's very interesting. For the past, I will say, for the past 5 years, a lot of IMGs has been doing the PPCR course or let's say at Harvard, and I think it's been a very good tool not only for learning, research, but also for networking. And
Yes.
I would say that is a good topic that we could talk a little bit, dedicate 1-2 minutes to explain a little bit more in depth. What is that? How can you do it? And how do you think this helped you during your journey?
Of course. Should I talk about that now? Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that, and then we deep dive into the steps and all the things you do.
Okay, so while I was doing my step one year, studying my step one, I was lacking inspiration or dedication or discipline. Like I lack the academic aspect of it because it's very hard to study by yourself. So I have a best friend, that's important, that studied with me at step one, and she saw this program in PPCR online. And we talked about it and we decided to apply. It was a blessing at the end because I was not quite convinced because I was a little bit scared because first is Harvard, and second of all is research. Most of you know Latinos don't have that opportunity to do research, especially here in the Dominican Republic. You don't have that experience. So I was a little bit scared, but at the same time, I thrive in academic, so I decided to apply. So what this is like a course of 9 months, 9 to 10 months. It depends. It's a curriculum, very complete curriculum, and has been designed for people like us that lack experience in research, who are also starting also in medical school or after medical school. It's for all ages, and it's composed by a lot of people all around the world, especially in Latino, like Brazil, Ukraine, like everywhere, Nigeria, Dominican Republic, obviously, and United States. So it's an online course, but also you can go to Boston also to do that. So it's a like an online platform where you learn through classes, and they give you exams, but you learn how to read research articles. You learn how to do clinical research. You get to publish a lot of um sorry like research, right?
Yeah.
um you also get to have friends, and you get to network, which is really important in the match. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. I mean, I think that's a topic that is one of the questions that most of the IMGs is always, one of the things that most of IMGs lack, which is research, especially in Latin America. I will say also, let's start with that question. So when you apply, how many research experience did you have? Like, did you were able to publish some journal in a journal, or some publish like reports or literature reviews? So how strong was your application in the research topic?
I think compared to everyone's, I was not as competitive because I only could publish like two research papers. But I do have experience guiding and mentoring other students in their research. I was not the first author for those, but I did publish with them. So for example, during this course, you get to publish like a manuscript or a clinical trial pilot. You get to learn how to do different clinical trials. And at the end, you get to expose or show this project to academics at Harvard.
That's great.
Yeah. And you get like unlimited opportunities to publish whatever you want. And they have like a journal, PPCR journal, where they publish all the papers. Also, you get you get the opportunity to become a teacher assistant if you do really well, and you get to learn all over again the material you already learned. So I've been a teacher assistant for 2 years now, and it's been great. And I've been mentoring others, and I've grown a lot as a
Yeah.
professional.
I wanted to ask you that because sometimes it's not the amount of things that you publish would make your research experience important, but the quality. You're mentoring people. You have been working in this very prestigious institution as Harvard is, and even though you only publish 2 or 3 papers, that's not the only thing. The importance is your experience that you have gained or you have in this 2 years. So this is like a tip or an advice for future applicants. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. Okay. So going a little bit back, I want you to share a little bit more. How was you just told me you graduated in 2018 and you are just matched to start in 2025. So there's a gap.
Yep.
So I bet a lot of IMGs have this gap, not only because they're preparing to study for the steps, that's life happens. So I want you to tell me what happened throughout those years, and when you took your step 1, when you took your step 2, and why you waited this time to.
Yeah, of course. It's a question that everyone has been telling me during their interviews. Of course, it's a red flag, but it's not, because you're a human and life happens, like you said. I had my reasons. I can tell you a little bit. So I graduated in 2018, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, if I wanted to stay in the art or if I wanted to go to the United States to do my residency. So I just like started to study by myself and see how it goes. And I decided to go to New York, um, to Kaplan, and I studied there for around 6 months. The pandemic happened. I was
Mm.
ready to take my test and everything, and the pandemic happened, and I had to be isolated for 6 months. And I was by myself, and it was really tough. And that kind of uh, retroceder. I am looking for that word in English.
Push me
Yeah,
back.
it was a pushback, but because of PPCR, I gained that momentum. I was around people who were going through the same thing,
Mhm.
studying for the steps, and that's one of the things that are important when you're preparing for step one or step two. You need someone with you studying, because it's really tough to do it by yourself if you're like me. Um, and what I did through those gaps is that I did my obligated I had to do like a doctor. I had to do like a I had to, for my license in the art, I had to be a doctor for a year in a rural area here in my country. So that's what I did while I also did the PPCR. I did volunteer work. I never stopped. Like, I continued to do something.
Okay.
Even if it was like a 1 day volunteer. Um, and for I took my step one in 2022
Okay.
around September. Yes. And then it took a while for me to take the step two. I took step two in 2023, in December.
Okay.
Yes. And then I started preparing after that for my step three, but still haven't taken it, which is a little tip. You should take your step three before residency, please.
Yeah. Yes. Please
Uh,
do.
yes. And it's good for your application as well. And after my step two, I started looking for rotations, clinical rotations. I had the privilege of having a friend who knew someone in Texas, and they recommended me, and I could go there for around 3 months, and I did a rotation in three different hospitals, um, in internal medicine.
Mhm.
Also, I was interested in emergency medicine, so I also did like a rotation in the ER. But that's been like so far like the timeline. If you have any other questions about that, I can answer it.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you maybe it's an uncomfortable question, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, about your step scores. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it was hard for you. Do you have like an average course, below average, above average? Did that impacted your? Do you think that impacted your application?
I thought that will impact my application because I am not great at taking tests, and I get nervous a lot. Um, the test doesn't define you. I will tell you, like, don't stress. Like,
Mhm.
for my step one, it was a pass. It was a pass. And then for step two, I I got 229, which is very average, like
Mhm.
below, right? And I was panicking because what I'm gonna do, because step one is with a score and a step two without a score, and step two it is with a score. And I don't know what I could do to make my CV more, uh, flashy or competitive, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to tell you guys that score are not an important factor at all. Like, I got a 229. I panicked, but I don't think that was a
Yeah.
factor that affected me.
It does define. Yeah, I agree with
Hmm.
you. It was the same with me. When I did my step one, it was with score and it was below average for surgery.
Hmm.
And the same with step two, it was also below average. But when you do that, when you have those scores, you cannot change them.
Hmm.
So I always tell the people and people that I mentor is that there are variables that you can change and there are some that you cannot. Those you cannot, but everything else you can. And you have to focus on your strength. And I know in your case, you have other strength, you know, the fact that you are doing this research, maybe just maybe it's your skills as a person, maybe it's your communication skill, your organizational skills, some other skills. I know everybody has different skills, so you have to focus on that. And I'm sure you
Yes.
did, and that's why you match. Okay, so that's that. I just wanted to ask that because it's a topic that sometimes a lot of people get stressed out. Of course, if you do
Yeah.
great in your scores and your steps, like if you go
That's
above
great.
average, amazing. Just go for
Yeah.
it. If you can do it, that's great. But if you don't do it, don't stress out. There's a possibility. You have here two examples that we match both, and our scores were not super great. Okay, so don't worry about it.
And also like you get your NBMEs and you get this score like 240s. That was like my NBMEs, and then I took my test and it was 229. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do now, right?
How was your experience with the OET test?
OET was quite, it wasn't stressful at all. It's very easy test. If you like handle very well the English language and the conversation flows, I think that's enough. As long as you practice with someone else or at the mirror, cases with like stuff talking to a patient, and online you have resources that can help you in taking those tests. I think like a 2 week is enough to study for that test. It wasn't hard.
Great. You told me that you did 3 rotations in Texas through somebody you knew that recommended you. So a lot of people, especially IMGs, it's very hard for them to find rotations. So I'm going to ask you 3 things that most of the people ask. 1, did you pay for the rotations? 2, did you email directly? How did you find? Is this related with the hospital? Did you pay for a service? And when you get there, do you have to do what things do you have to do? Like you have to do lab tests, you have to do something extra that you didn't know, and they have to in order to go to the rotation. Is how difficult it is to do a rotation?
For me, at first, I had no idea how to do it. I kind of did it late in the process. I started this thing in May or April of 2023. I think you should start it at the beginning of the year because most of the rotations that are free are available, are very competitive. So you have to start early. You can look that up in the internet, but like for example, there are companies that facilitate the rotations for IMGs that are paid. But um, in my case, I knew a doctor in Texas, and that doctor received me in his in his clinic, and I just did like a physician assistant kind of a job for like a month or two. And then while I was there, I did a research about the hospitals in the area, and I got to rotate with another doctor, a cardiologist in another hospital, and I emailed him. Um, I emailed him and texted him about my interest in applying in internal medicine, and he sponsored me. I didn't have to pay. There are a lot of rotations like that. You just have to reach out to the attendings. Most of them will not respond, but one of them will. And I did a final rotation that I had to pay for. So it's quite common to pay, but
Yes.
there is also other rotations that you don't have to pay. So
Yeah, correct. I just wanted to ask you that because yes, there's 2 options. You could pay for it, and you might be able to find somebody that you don't pay. So whatever you choose is fine. The important is to have the experience, and that those places you go you're gonna be able to get a letter of recommendation. Did you get a letter of recommendation from these places?
yes, so I asked for my letter of recommendation. That's something I was very scared to do. There is a misconception as well, like, oh my God, I'm going to ask this person. But as long as you're genuine and telling him how important it is for you and what's your journey and what's you want to apply for residency, I think most of them will give you the letters of recommendation. Also, during my PPCR journey, I mean, being a teacher assistant, I got a letter of recommendation from the director of the program. So it's all about what you do, what the people knows about you. Ask. If you don't ask, then you will not get anything.
Yes, I agree. So
Mm-hmm.
once you already have all this, you already have your steps, you already have your research experience, you have your letter of
Mm-hmm.
recommendations, and then it's ERAS application time, which is very
Yeah,
stressful. So tell me a little
very.
bit about your ERAS application, the tools you use. Were you able to use Match a Resident? How do you prepare
Yes.
for the selection of the programs? How many programs do you apply? Tell me your experience on that part.
Okay. So, because I knew from other friends that the personal statement is going to take a while and you will change it like so many times, um, I decided to start early. I started to write. I don't know. I am very bad at writing. Like, I have to sit down and just type whatever I have in my head. It doesn't matter, it doesn't make sense, but it shouldn't intimidate you. It will, but it shouldn't be. So you just type your ideas at first and it will just flow. I changed my personal statement 4 times.
Okay.
I
Nice.
also, yeah, it's very normal. I also seeked help from professionals to check my grammar, like give me insight. I also like to have like feedback from other people from different point of views that helped me a lot. I also Eras was a giant to me. I didn't know nothing about Eras. So first I chose to use the Residency Explorer, the one that's given by Eras, but then I got overwhelmed. How many options they had. The information wasn't updated. So I decided to go for Master Resident, which it was a great help. Thank you, Master Resident. It's an algorithm or like a website that you
Mhm.
type your information, your score, your graduation, and it will just filter the programs by score, how likely it is for you to get an interview there. And people who had interview there, the university you're from. So, for example, Morristown, the one that I got my first choice, thank God, had like a score of above 8 because I had other people that are Dominica who interviewed there, and also a score. It will just a lot of factors. So I applied for 112 programs in total.
It was
um
only internal medicine.
yes, only internal medicine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And
And how
mhm.
many interviews you got from all those 112?
Okay, I got 7 interviews.
It's a good number. It's a good number for
Yeah.
IMG. Very good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you something, like something that I want to share. Those interviews, each of those interviews, I had someone there that I reached out to or knew. I think
Networking.
it's very important. Networking, guys. Networking is 101. You need to reach out. If you're afraid of, like not asking someone of their time, like you have to. It doesn't matter. Like the worst thing is that they will say no.
Exactly.
So, like 2 of my interviews, I got it from people who I reach out through TikTok or through Instagram. I don't know that person, but I talk to them. I talk to them about my journey and how important it is for me to represent. And they recommended me, and I got an interview. So I think that was key in my process. Like networking was very important.
That's interesting that you tell that you reach out to TikTok.
Yes.
I haven't used that for networking specific. I always recommend LinkedIn and Instagram and X or just via email. But I'm a huge fan. I think one of my favorite words are networking. I always say networking,
Yeah.
networking is so important, especially for everyone. And not
Yes.
only for medicine, for everything in life in America, in this country,
Mhm.
networking is key. So you have to learn about that. So
It's very important.
yeah.
It's as long as like as you get the interview, everything's on you. Like how you represent yourself through camera, your mannerisms, the practice you have to do. Like also, I reach out to TikTok to people like you, doctors that
Mhm.
were giving tips about interviews, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I want
Yeah.
to have a mock interview with you," and they reached out and said, "Oh, yes, I would love to." Like I really want to mention them. Let me see if I can find them. But they were really good, like just networking, key for
Yeah,
everything.
great. That's awesome that you mentioned that because it's very important for everybody to look out for help, you know, uh, do networking, create your community. And you also mentioned something at the beginning, very important that I wanted to reinforce now. It's your support system, you know,
Mm-hmm.
building a community. Uh, Now we have a huge community. You know, we have created,
Yes.
like 5 years ago didn't exist, but now we have
No.
Project IMG, we have Pro IMG Latino, we have different IMG communities from different countries and all together as well as an IMG
Mm-hmm.
community. I think that's why this year IMG's match rate increased if you compare from
Yeah.
previous years. So I'm so happy for that as well. So I think it's part of the community and also having a support system, not only your family and friends, but also people who are in this same
Yes.
pathway.
Yes, absolutely. I think support system is key. Like without them, I wouldn't be here right now doing an interview with you. Just can't believe it that I'm right here sharing my journey. Like family, even if you don't have family, friends or people like you that are going through this are
Like,
enough. Like as long as you have a support from them, it's a really good. It's really good for you.
so I want to ask you something that I will always ask to people that I interview who matches, and I would say, what was the most difficult thing that you passed through all this journey? What do you think was the most difficult part?
Ooh. Well, hmm, I think I had to rediscover myself. Because for interviews, you have to put your best self. Um, and I did all this. I studied. I knew I put the hard work, but I forgot about my capacity, my value, right? And I had to do like rediscover who I am, like to define my strengths, my weaknesses. It was tough for me. I had to study a lot.
Yeah,
Go
it's
inside, right? It was tough. You reevaluate yourself. Also tough. You know, I match at my number one, Morristown, New Jersey. Yoo-hoo. But that interview was the toughest one. I thought that I wouldn't make it. I put
uh,
my list, my first, because I like the program. I love the program. I got in love with it, with the staff, with the residents, the vibes. Um, but it was a tough one. I think was the worst. I mean, it wasn't the best one. I was, you know, but I followed my heart and I put it number one, and it worked out. So.
that's great. Congrats. And why did you decide to choose that specifically for number one
Mm,
in New Jersey?
yeah. Okay. So New Jersey is very close to my country. Second of all, I love the program. I love what they um sorry, I'm thinking in English because it's hard sometimes.
What they offer, what they bring to the.
Yeah, what they offer for residents and
Mhm.
their development as a resident. I knew people there. I have a really good friend there. Um, I also liked the community engagement and like the vibes of the residents. I really like the open house and
Nice.
the support system. It's very important. They are like a family. So that's a big for me. Yeah, that's what sold it.
Does this program give you the visa, the J1?
Yes, J1. So I applied for J1 visa since I haven't passed my step three. I think this program doesn't sponsor H1B visa, but I
Yeah,
did apply for J1 visa. Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a few that apply that give a H1.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the programs give you just a J1. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes.
great. Perfect. So just to wrap up, I think we're about to finish. We've been here for a while, but I just want you to. This is a safe space for everybody to watch and listen. And I would like you to give a message to all those IMGs that are listening to you now. That maybe they're just starting in the journey. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe their English is not the best, or they believe that they're not worthy, or maybe they believe that they're not able or capable to do this. What would you tell them? Like when you what would you tell to yourself 5 years ago when you just started? So let's inspire people to try to do it.
I get emotional when I think about it. I started with the adults. I didn't think that I would be here right now. It was really tough for me. I went through a lot. I think everyone goes through something at some point, and I think if I could make it, you can too. But I was in your shoes. I was in your shoes. I doubted myself. I had horrible scores like at my practice test for step one and first, like at 20-30%. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna make this. But don't despair. There is hope as long as you persevere, are resilient, patient, and also don't think bad about yourself. Be proud of yourself because you're doing what you want to do. And dreams are possible. I'm living my dream, and I think you can live your dreams as well.
That's great. Congratulations. I'm so happy that another Dominican, another Latino have matched this year. This is a message of inspiration. People like you inspires others. I think, as you maybe start with a little dream, and until you make it happen, there's a long pathway. You need just resilience, you need patience, you need consistency, you need discipline. If you are disciplined, if you have a plan, if you look for help, if you have a guidance, if you use the resources that are available to you, and you have a good support system, I know you're gonna make it. It doesn't matter if it takes you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You're gonna make it. You will become your dream will come true of becoming a doctor here in the US. So please reach out to people like Laura, me, like anyone in Match Residence. We are here to help. We want you to match as well, and we want to interview you next year. So thank you for being here. Thank you very much, Laura, and congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
I want to say a big shout out to Dr. Escobar. Dr. Johan Escobar is one of your doctors at Match Resident, which was a great help. Yes, I reached out to him. Also, a big shout out to Jose Rivera in TikTok, really good. And Dr. Karan Singh in TikTok too. They really helped.
Yeah, follow them. Follow them.
Go follow them. Bye. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Lara, and thank you, Match Resident, for this opportunity for IMGs, and see you in the next chapter.